Hey everyone, this is Andrew Wicklander, the founder of Tula Software, and I'm going to walk you through today how to build a really nice looking website using Squarespace and how to use that website to take payments, set your registration system up, handle special events and all of that kind of thing with Tula Software, so that for your yoga studio you can have an awesome website that's super functional, that lets you take credit card payments, and it basically gives you pretty much everything that you need from the online presence standpoint of your business. So instead of trying to be all like fancy and doing a lot of the animated videos that I do sometimes, instead I'm going to try to just walk through the whole process of making a website. So I think this will go maybe 45 minutes or an hour, something like that. I'm not quite sure. But the idea is when you're done with this video that you could truly have like a great website, a great foundation for your site, and the ability to like share your calendar and all that kind of stuff. So I am going to kind of go back and forth from my browser and this photo booth here, so I can talk a little bit about the philosophy behind our software as I'm building this site. So give me one moment here and we will get going. I'm gonna go ahead and hide my photo booth. And so the first thing I'm gonna do is go to Squarespace. And I love Squarespace. We don't have any affiliation with them or anything, but they have made it such that normal people, and by normal people I mean not programmers, can make a really great website. So I want to try and create the experience that you would have with like a brand new site. So I just realized I went to log in, but instead of logging in, I am going to try and set up a new account here. Sometimes it recognizes who you are. All right, so the first thing is they will give you some templates to choose from, and all of the templates are good, but they have a different ones have different advantages to them. I tend to like templates that give you like a little bit of a wider page body so that you can have at least 2 columns in a page when you want. But any of these will work for you, and we're going to go over a lot of the structural things. So I'm going to just go ahead and choose one of their like business template options, and I will go with this Hayden one. They give you different previews, but we don't need to dwell on what design we're going to go with. So I am going to I'm just creating my account now that they've had me choose my template. And the first thing that we're going to do is just kind of get like our pages set up the way that we want. So they have kind of some of these options to select here. Just kind of get through these. So we'll call this the Tula demo site. But actually, let's not do that. Let's call it Tula Yoga Studio, even though this is not going to really be a studio. If you happen to need to send me any mail, this is the address for Tula Software. All right, so once you get in, you'll notice that you're in a trial account, but you have full access for a couple weeks. And What I'm going to do here first is just check out the page structure that they give us with this template. So you can see that Squarespace does this thing where you're kind of like in create and view mode all at the same time. But what they have here are the different pages that are on the site. So they have this introduction page, and then there are some images with descriptions. There is this Moro page. There's this Pacific Tavern page. But basically, all of these pages fall under the category of this work page. A lot of the times when you're choosing a template, you'll notice that there's like patterns that they have, and you may try to preserve some of the patterns, you may not. But the idea is the first thing we want to do is just create the pages that our site needs. So I'm actually going to delete all of these test pages here. And the reason I'm going to do that is just because I want to sort of like have just like a totally blank, clean slate to start from. It looks like it's not letting me delete all of those work pages because the work tab is the home page, so which is fine. We will probably add a blog back later, but for now we will go ahead and delete this. I'm like sort of like the example content that Squarespace gives you, but sometimes I feel like it's a little bit too much. Like, bear with me here. This is the one downside of doing like a real-time website making podcast, or I should say website making video. I apologize for the few times that you may have to wait for me. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is just add a page, a generic page here. I'm going to call it home. And I'm going to make this the home page because Squarespace is not allowing me to delete the other page until I assign a new home page. So I believe down here, yeah. Okay, so I can set this as the home page now. There's nothing on it yet, which is fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these pages, and I can confirm I want them deleted. All right, so I have lost some of the like example layouts and all of that kind of thing that Squarespace had going, but that's okay. I wanted to do that on purpose. So now, I've got my home page. It looks like this work tab is still linked, and I'm not quite sure why, so we'll figure that out later. But going back to my home page here, what I'm going to do now is just add the other pages that I think are sort of like the typical pages that you need to have for a yoga studio. So we've got our home page. Now I'm going to make a schedule page. Some people call this calendar. Then I'm going to make a pricing page. Now you can drag and drop these so that the order of the pages shows up the way that you want. So I have my home. I'm going to put my schedule. I have pricing. I'm probably going to have some special events. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Squarespace event module for special events. And I'll call this special events. And the other page that we probably want, or maybe a team page, right? So because there's going to be multiple people on this page, I'll make this an index page, knowing that I might have a page for each team member. So let's say I'm going to be part of the team. Let's say that Derek Hopper and Keone are going to be part of our team. So you get the idea here. So now I have my team page, I have our special events, I have our pricing, I have our schedule. I may realize that I need some other pages, but this is a pretty good start. Oops, I didn't mean to put that into the secondary navigation here. So I personally like a pattern of a homepage, a schedule, pricing, and then special events. Generally speaking, I think people make their websites too complicated, and that really it's important to keep in mind that if you're building a website for a yoga studio, most likely the people are there because they want to know where you're located, what your schedule is, and hopefully maybe learn a little bit about your studio and your overall philosophy on things. So now what we've got here, in just a couple minutes, right, I made a homepage, a schedule, pricing, and special events. So now we're going to go really quickly over to Tula Software. And I'm probably going to need to log out of here real quick. So that I can create a brand new account. So I'm going to go through the exact same trial and account creation process that pretty much anybody would go through when they create an account with Tula Software. I already have that email in here. Pardon me. All right, so we will call this the Tula Yoga Studio demo. And now I'm creating my studio. So as I first land in here, I basically get a message from myself, which I'm going to go ahead and close. And I have a couple of sample classes in here. So I'm going to actually set up the foundation and the structure of Tula being connected to the website before I really do anything else. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Studio Settings, and then I'm going to go to Website Widgets. And what I'm going to do is grab the calendar widget and put it in our calendar page. So over here, you'll notice one of the first pages I created is this schedule page. So right now, the first thing I want to do is just get this calendar in here. So Squarespace gives you the ability to take these, like, basically what amount to content blocks and put them on your page. And it's really, really nice because they let you drag and drop things all over the place. And one of the things that you can do is embed code from an external site. So you're probably familiar with this via things like YouTube or other video players. What you'll do is you click this little code icon in the embed code block and you paste it in here, and now we will apply. So you're not going to see this calendar loading here, but what you can do is you can go visit the page on your site. So let's see what's going on here. See, everybody sometimes has troubles. So I'm trying to get this page like loaded, but on the main like domain. So let me get over to the home page here. See, and I haven't set like a URL yet. There we go. So I just want to visualize like in the same way that the public world would visualize this calendar. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to the main like Squarespace subdomain that was set up for my account when I set this up here. Hopefully they don't log me in automatically, but they might. Looks like they did. Okay, cool. So now I'm on the home page. I'm going to go to the schedule page. And what you see here is our calendar is loaded. Now, I don't have a lot of events in here because I haven't made all of my classes. But I already now I have my calendar. So while we're in here, one thing I'm going to show you is that depending on your design, you may want to customize your calendar. So I'm going to make this with like a white background, but a lot of times people have different colored backgrounds, and our calendar supports you doing pretty much whatever you want from a design standpoint. So we have a couple of random themes here to give you the idea. This one is actually the Chicago Cubs theme, so I may use that. But what you will see is actually happening here is in this code itself, I'm going to go ahead and open up a text file. And do you see this URL here? This Tula Yoga Studio demo.tulasoftware.com calendar embed. And then these digits, these are color numbers, and they are what dictate what color the calendar will be. So if I take this code and I go back over to Squarespace and I like edit this code block. So now I'm just going to take out the code that's there and I'm going to replace it with this code that has these color numbers. Now if I apply those changes and I save them and I go back over to this calendar page, now what I'm going to see is that the calendar has a blue background and it'll just generally have a little bit of a different look and feel to it. So obviously on a white background I'm not going to want to use this, but we do some things like magically with transparencies and whatnot to make sure that no matter what colors you choose, that the schedule will always look nice. So just keep in mind that you have the ability and you have the flexibility and the freedom to really make your website as custom as you want from a design standpoint. And that's like a really big deal to us because, you know, your studio is unique, and one of the main things that people are going to look at is your calendar. And so you want your calendar to hopefully not look like every other calendar that people come across when they check out a yoga studio. So I'm going to go ahead and put just this more generic calendar in here. And now I've got all of this stuff set and ready to go from a calendar standpoint. So now I have my calendar in there. Now my pricing page is where I'm going to want to put my online store, which will allow people to buy the passes that I sell. So if I take this purchase widget and I put it in my pricing page, which I'm going to do right now, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to set up a code block. So I choose this embed block again. I put it in here. And I'm going to put our custom code in there. And now I'm going to apply that and save those changes. So now I'm going to go back over to the public-facing site, the public-facing side of things. All right, so now I have my calendar page up. Now if I go to my pricing page, I see, oh, there's this purchase here. Sorry, Tula Yoga Studio Demo hasn't set up their online store. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up our online store and see what that looks like. I can, over in Tula Software, where I am back now, I can either go to the online store settings, or I can go to the studio settings and go to payment center status. Both of these are going to end up taking me to pretty much the same place, but just in a different way. So ultimately, I want to end up getting onto this payment center section so that I can connect my Stripe account. So if I go over here and I go to online store settings, and I click setup now, this is just going to take me over to this studio integrations page. So all of the paths will end up leading you here, with us basically telling you to connect your Stripe account. So connecting with Stripe is required so that you can take credit card payments in person and online. So I'm going to real quick go back to the main Tula Software page I was at, because I'm realizing I was logged into my Stripe account and I want to go through this whole like Stripe Connect process. So going back over to Tula Software and our demo site real quick, I get back over to the online store settings. I go to set up my Stripe account and I click this Connect with Stripe button. So what this is telling you is, hey, Tula Software wants to interact with you and your Stripe account. So if you already happen to have a Stripe account, then you will click sign in with Stripe to connect. If you don't have a Stripe account, you will go through the sign up. Now, the sign up process is very, very straightforward and very, very simple. You'll answer some questions about your product. You'll put in your tax identification number and your business address and your personal information. You also get to choose how you want your business to appear on a company's credit card statements, and then you put in your bank information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go to, log in again to my own Stripe account, but I wanted to walk through that first. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in here. Through one of our test accounts. Hopefully I can remember it. I often forget my passwords. All right, so I'm going to use this ideal project group account I have, and I'm going to connect my Stripe account. So now that my Stripe account is connected, I can see I have a connection with Stripe. And when I go to my online store settings now, I get some different information because now my account is set up. And what you're going to see mainly is that I have these 3 passes that are set up right now. These are 3 passes that are always set up when you create a test account, when you create a trial account with Tula. These, of course, you can change and do anything you want with them. We just start you off with a few classes. So I'm going to stick with these for now, and I'm going to go to my online store settings, and I'm going to say, yes, I want my single class to be available in the online store. So I go ahead and save this. Now, meanwhile, if we go back to the website that we're making, and I refresh, for some reason the refreshes are taking a little bit longer than I like, but okay, now you'll see this payment form loading, and I'm logged in, so I have certain information that is filled out, and you can see that now I have a single class in here as a payment option. Now, if I buy a 10-pack, if I choose to make the 10 packs available in the online store, and now I refresh this, Again, waiting for Squarespace to refresh. Maybe I will have to edit some portions of this video after all. But, all right, now you can see I have the 10-pack here. You'll notice I don't have a gift certificate option showing up, though. Let's say I would like both of these passes to be available as a gift certificate. And I'm also going to go ahead and put the recurring monthly unlimited pass in there. So the idea is once you have the widget in your website, from both the calendar standpoint as well as the payment form, when you make updates inside Tula Software, those updates then are automatically available on your website, because when you put the widgets in, they're just communicating directly with our servers on the back end. So now, even though our website isn't like super fancy right now, we're starting to have most of the key components that we need for a website for a yoga studio. We have a homepage, we have a schedule page, we have pricing. Now, maybe as students come into the studio and they become members and they're interacting with your business, they may want to manage their own accounts. So we're going to go ahead and add a student account page here, because that is the one other widget that we have. So we will once again go here, and we're going to call this student access. Now, but because this is a student access widget, it's not really like as important as some of the other things. So I'm going to put this into not the unlinked pages, but I'm going to put it into the secondary navigation and see where that shows up on this theme, because I'm not quite sure, but I like to put things like my account pages oftentimes in secondary navigations. So this puts it down here. This theme, I'm not totally in love with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back up into the primary navigation, but I'm going to make it the final link on the page, and I'm not going to put it underneath the team section here. So I'm going to put it there, but I am going to move then the team section over here. So now I get the home, the schedule, pricing, special events, team, and student access. Now it looks like this theme is doing something with the last link in the row. And so I don't really want the student access thing to be called out like that wildly on this. I'm not positive that that is the thing that's going on with this theme. So I'm going to play around and put another page is the last one, and I can see that that is what's happening. So because of this, I'm going to go ahead and choose for this, for now, to put the schedule as the last link, because that is something that people oftentimes are going to your website, is they want to know your schedule. So we'll keep that there. So we have home, pricing, special events, team, student access, and schedule. Maybe we'll change this around a little bit later. Maybe not. We're just going to kind of see how things go. But now that we have the student access page, what that means is we have one more widget that we're going to go ahead and put in here, which is the student access widget. So once again, we go to our trusty embed code block. This time I go back to Tula and I choose the website widgets. A little brain freeze there. And I grab the student widget. I go back over to Squarespace. I put in the code. I set this up here and I apply my changes. So now I have three main widgets in my website. I have the payment form and the pricing page. I have the schedule or the calendar on the schedule page. And now I have the student access page. So once again, we'll go back over to our main page here, or I should say our public facing page. I think this is going to reload the pricing page again, it looks like. And I can see the pricing page. I can check out my student access page. I am logged in right now, so this is going to show my profile information. Now, what we see here is the person's credit count. They can update their payment information, and they can record purchases here. So just by creating pages and putting widgets from Tula Software into the website, we start getting a lot of structure, and we have a nice foundation here. So even though, again, it doesn't look like fancy or anything, what actually can be done with this website now and what it can power is you can share your schedule and you can take payments. So now we're going to go ahead and start making it a little bit like more pleasant to look at and start designing certain things with some intention behind it. So going back to the back side of the website now. Because we have the homepage and the rest of the foundation set, now we need to tell our story and let people know why they might want to do some yoga there, right? So I'm not going to spend a ton of time designing a full-blown website right now, but what I am going to do is spend time helping you think about how to route people around your site. So just by having these clear links up here, you're giving people, you're guiding them already. So right now I'm going to send some photos over to my phone. Actually, I'll do that. I'm going to do that later. All right, so what I will do though is I'm gonna just put in a little bit of content here. So we'll start off with, actually I think we already have a text block here. So we'll start with a big header and we'll center the text and we'll say welcome to our testing studio. All levels welcome, because we're all learning here. Whether you're learning yoga or web design, you can use both to improve yourself, and that is not hyperbole. So I'm going to add a line here, and I'm going to say welcome to our testing studio, all levels welcome. You can imagine that you might have a paragraph in here, but you get the idea. At this point now, you would start adding in images and things that give your studio some personality. So let's now talk about these special events and how events are managed inside Tula Software. So as you know, we previously created the calendar widget and put it in the website. So what I'm going to do now is just create a little schedule of events for just a month or two. So in Tula, when you create events, you can either create an individual event, a series of events, or special events. So right now, just for the purposes of getting our calendar filled, I'm going to say we have a sunrise vinyasa class every day except for Monday morning. Okay. So because of that, instead of using this custom dates option, which I could do if I wanted to have a schedule on or an event on a bunch of different days, I'm just going to go with this repeating schedule and say that we have a class that goes from from October 1st until November 30th. I said every day except for Monday. So we'll go every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And now you'll see that I have some settings for the calendar. I can choose to show this event on the calendar, or I can choose not to show the event on the calendar. So I want to show it on the calendar because I want it to be public. And then Once I choose to show it on the calendar, I get to choose, do I want registrations to be turned on for this class, or do I not want registrations to be turned on for this class? So I'm going to go ahead and turn registrations on. And when I turn registrations on, I then have some more options. I can either say, yes, payment is required in order to register for the class, or I can say no payment is not required. Now, if I say payment is required, then I get the ability to have a penalty message here. So when people go to register, they will be informed, hey, if you don't show up, we're going to remove a credit from your account. So for this, I'm going to actually choose not to turn payment required on for this one. And I will make a special event later on where payment is required so that I can show you the difference. Now, this external URL is so that if I want to have a page dedicated to the description of a class, that I could do that. And this is actually reminding me that a class descriptions page is a pretty common page that our website would benefit from that I didn't make. So I'll do that after I save this series of classes. Now, what you see happening here is in the background, we are creating all of these events. So now all these events have been created, and because our calendar is already embedded in our website, when I go to the schedule over on my website, now, of course, I see this new class that I created. Now, my start time was 7:10, which I sort of wish I hadn't made the start time 7:10 now because, well, I just don't think usually there's classes starting at 7:10. So let's go ahead and make this. And also, it's a sunrise vinyasa class. It probably isn't going to start at 7:10 p.m. So let's go ahead and make this a 5:45 a.m. class. And because I'm editing the whole series, you'll see that just this one change now will update the entire schedule for all these classes. So if I go ahead to my main public calendar, I will see the new time, but of course I didn't even need to do anything on my website. It just automatically got updated because I'm using the magical powers of the website widgets. Looks great. All right, so now you kind of get the idea there with that. You build out your whole schedule this way. So it's very easy to make your classes, but you probably spend 10 or 15 minutes putting together your schedule. We'll go ahead and do a sunset vinyasa class. And we'll just say that this one is going to be at 7 p.m., but we'll make this a 90-minute class. So, and we'll start this also on October 1st. And this one, I'm just going to say it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, though. Okay. And now it goes also through November 30th. For this one, I'm going to also allow students to pre-register. However, I'm not going to require payment for it. So it's just like the last one. All right. Fantastic. Now I go back over to my calendar again, and I can see, of course, that my calendar is updated. Beautiful. All right. So now let's talk about some special events. Special events are great for things like workshops, retreats. Maybe you're going to have a beginner series or something like that. So one of my favorites, very common, is, in fact, a beginner series. So let's go back to our website. We're going to leave Tula for just a moment. We're going to say, all right, we've got special events. We're using the event module with Squarespace, which is super helpful. And so we can make a special event. And we can just say what it is that this event is. So I'm going to call this a beginner's workshop. Let's call this beginner's workshop. And let's say that it is something that's designed to be a weekend workshop from, let's say, Friday the 23rd to Sunday the 25th. I think that sounds nice. And we're going to say, learn the beauty of yoga. Okay? But you can, of course, imagine having some pictures and descriptions and all that kind of stuff here. So we've saved this. If we go to our website here, so we have our homepage, and I go to special events, it's telling me there are no upcoming special events right now. Why is that? I must not have saved something correctly. What did I do? One moment. I'm wondering if I saved it in the wrong place or something, or... All right, let's see. Oh, I did not publish it. Okay, so it's saved as a draft right now. My apologies. So I'm going to save and publish this event. And when I do that, it is going to show up on my Squarespace website. Now, of course, I haven't yet done anything in Tula. All we're doing is saying, hey, we know that we want to have a beginner's workshop. So what are these actual classes? Let's go to Tula and make them. Let's say that the beginner's workshop is a special event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, one event each day. And each day will be focused on something a little bit different. But we're going to just put in here beginner's workshop. Now, before we use the repeating schedule, but this time we're not doing like every Monday at 8 a.m. or anything like that. We're doing custom dates. So I'm going to add the custom dates tab, or choose the custom dates tab, and I'm going to say, okay, so Friday, let's say that we do it at 5 p.m. We'll say Saturday's class is at 10 a.m. Now we'll say this is a 2-hour class though. Actually, let's make the one above it a 2-hour class also. And then let's say Sunday's class is going to be a 3-hour and 30-minute final class that begins at, let's call it 8 a.m. All right. So what I have here is a group of 3 events for this beginner's workshop. Now, depending on how I do my sales, I might want to allow people to buy more than one pass for this, or I may want to only have one pass for this. So maybe I'm going to have a drop-in, or maybe I'm going to have the full weekend. So I'm going to say yes, allow students to pre-register, and I'm also going to say payment is required in order to register. I'm going to leave our default message of if you're unable to attend a class, a credit will be deducted from your account. I'm going to go ahead and leave this blank for now. And then what I'm going to do is add new passes that can be used for this event. I'm going to call this full weekend beginner's pass. And I'm going to say that this is $200. And because there's 3 events and this gives people access to all of the events, I'm going to say that it can be used 3 times. And I'm going to give this a soft expiration, or rather a hard expiration of November 18th, which is actually a month or so after the last event. I'm also going to choose to add this pass in the online store because I want people to be able to buy it. Now I'm going to add another pass, and I'm going to call it Beginner's Workshop Single Drop-In. And I'm going to say that this is $75. We'll also go with a hard expiration. Now, this one can only be used one time. I'm going to add the pass to my online store. So now I have this pass here, and as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not really using real world examples with these pricing. I've got two 2-hour classes and a 3-hour class. Maybe let's go ahead and make this beginner's workshop $50. And let's go ahead and make the drop-in $35. Actually, let's make it $25. All right. So I've decided, okay, I'm good with that. I want to have a low price, trying to get some beginners in. $50 for 3 classes, two of which are 2 hours. Anyway, you get the idea. All right. So now I'm going to save this event. But I'm going to show you one other specific thing, which is, so for this event, when we look at the calendar, we have now 3 individual events, but they're all like a little bit kind of related to each other, because there's the beginner workshop on Friday, there's the beginner's workshop on Saturday, and there's the beginner's workshop on Sunday. So I might want to register for that whole event and not just one of those events. And if I go to the payment form, I could choose to purchase a pass to the beginner's workshop. And if I did buy that pass, once I purchased it, I would be able to register for a selection of classes. But sometimes you want to more clearly call out on your website the events that you have, and you want people to be able to register for them easily. And so because of that, we're going to call upon some widgets again. You'll notice that when you create an event series in Tula, when you get on this page that shows you all of the individual events, you will see a registration widget. You can also open this page if you want as a separate page, but it's basically our widget. So you can open that here. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this widget for this event, and we're going to go back to Squarespace. We're going to edit this event, and we're just going to do one little change. So we're going to say sign up for the workshop below, and then we're going to embed right in here this registration widget. So now when we go back to the main website, and I'm actually going to bring this up in a different browser right now, because I want you to be able to see what this looks like when you have like a new student who's never been there before, or in other words, the logged out experience. Because I'm still in my trial, Squarespace is telling me to let them know that I am a human. All right, so now when I choose on my special event, if I had more than one, the list would show up here. But I see right in this special event, right here, I can register for this event. Now, I can either log into the website or I can continue without logging in. And if I continue without logging in, we will render the purchase widget and give them the option of buying only the passes that will contain enough uses for the entire event series. When I go through this entire thing, I would then be registered for the entire event. So what is so nice about this is that it allows you, let's say I have 5 events going on here, and I want to let's put in one more. We'll call this like a Inversions Workshop. we'll just say that this starts and ends on Saturday. And I forgot to put a description here, which I will do now. All right. So now when I go back to my main website, excuse me, I have the beginner's workshop, and then I also have the Inversions Workshop. But when I look at this, I'm kind of thinking I don't want this widget to show up on this page where things are listed. I sort of only want it to show up on the page that I see when I click on the specific workshop. So I'm going to go back to Squarespace and see if I can make that happen real quick. And I'm not positive, actually. So I'm going to edit this. Excuse me. My guess is that if I had a long enough description, that it would push this out. I think this is like just to give people a summary, you know, that index page. So if I have enough content, I just pasted learn the beauty of yoga, sign up for the workshop below a bunch of times. And we will see what shows up. So if I go back to the events here, my guess is that, and I'm wrong. Okay. Let's look. I know that there is a setting in here. So I'm going to check out my options. Just bear with me a moment. I'm a little bit stumped right now. I'm wondering if I put an excerpt in here, if that will do the trick. Does not look like it. Let's see. All right, there we go. So once I put an excerpt in the page, it wasn't trying to render the whole page anymore. So that's a good thing to like keep in mind. So it wasn't related to the amount of content I had in the event itself. It had to do with whether or not I had gone to the options section and chosen to have an excerpt. So the reason that this matters is like it was looking kind of nasty to me, having like all of I'm all over the place right now, pardon me. It was looking kind of nasty to me when I was seeing like the registration widget on this page, because this is a really nice looking page. And if I put some photos in there, I believe that they will show up in here as well. So I may pause for a moment and get some photos from my phone onto my computer in just a moment. But what I like about this is that now I have this pattern where I can click on here, and in this context, it makes sense to me to see a widget, right? And if I was building this page out in like a more robust manner, I would do things like, you know, put in some nice images in here. All right, so I am going to bring a few of these over to my desktop. And now if I want to insert some images using Squarespace It's literally just as easy as dragging and dropping this square and then adding the image that I want to add. So I really like working with Squarespace. It really is like a real pleasure most of the time. And the freedom and the flexibility that they give you to do so many things while keeping a really nice design is just like, it's really noteworthy. So all I'm doing here is just, making this workshop look a little bit fancier with an image. I think the image I chose here is an image of a tree. Oh, nope, it's my children. Okay, so, well, that's all right. We'll go with that picture. And you might do something like learn the beauty of yoga and check out the registration form below to sign up for the event. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now we'll go back over to Chrome. And what we've got here is, again, we've got our basic testing studio. We'll play around with that in just a moment. When I go to special events, I have the Beginner's Workshop with an excerpt, and then I click on the Beginner's Workshop and I see some information about it. I see a nice looking photo, and right underneath it I see a registration widget. But let's say that I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh geez, I'm afraid people aren't going to see the registration widget next to or underneath this photo, which that's a possibility. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to see what kind of flexibility I have around this widget section. So I need to edit my page content. And all I'm going to do here is go down to where I have this widget, and I'm going to see if I can just pull it up here and then put it over to the right of the picture. I don't know if this is going to look great or not. Now, I didn't want to put it underneath the top line. I want that top line to still span the whole width of the page. And I'm not getting that right now. I need to play with this a little bit more to pull it down. Do you see how this whole bar up here is showing? And so what I need is for this box to just go across the top. And this is where sometimes, like, the beauty and magic of Squarespace can cause the occasional issue, but quickly undone like that. So now I've got my introductory statement and I have my image on the left and my form on the right. Let's take a look and see what this looks like in the real world. And you'll notice, like, what I'm doing a lot of times is I'm making a change and then I'm seeing how it looks. So this is like, I'm totally not loving this either right now because this looks like too skinny. And if I continue without logging in, I get the payment form and it's fine, kind of, but it's like long and just, I don't know. I'm not really digging it. So let's go back over here and see what some of our other options might be. All of a sudden, now I'm thinking like, all right, maybe we've got to make this image sort of share some space with this content up top, and we need to make this registration widget just span the whole bottom section. So that's kind of what I'm going to give a shot at right now. So what this gives me is some text on the left and image on the right. Let's go ahead and swap that. I feel like I want this over here instead. So now I've got the image, learn more about the beauty of yoga, check out the registration event. Maybe I might end up putting some pricing information or something like that there. And now when I go back to the main event page that the public would see, this to me looks like much nicer. Way, way, way nicer. Much better. So what I have here is the beginner's workshop. I see a little description about it, and then instantly I see my register and pay information widget. And I see clearly, oh, okay, great, like register and pay. This feels like a nice flow. Now I can either log in or I can continue without logging in. Now I'm gonna bring myself up here for a moment and talk about why like some of this stuff matters so much. So, all right, here's the thing. When you have different people coming to your studio, hello, there I am. So when you have different people coming to your studio, your new people are going to have a different set of like things that are needed to have the optimal experience than someone who's been there a whole bunch of times, right? So this is why we make it so easy for people to do things without logging in and being able to continue as a guest. But if somebody did want to log into the website because let's say they have a credit card on file or they don't want to keep filling their information out, we of course want to make that super easy for them as well. So one of the big like things that you hopefully are catching on here is that through the use of our widgets, we're very much trying to make it so that your students have an experience where they really feel like they're interacting with and communicating with your brand, not with our brand. We want to communicate and interact with you, but we want your students to interact and communicate with you, right? And this is a very important way that we're different from pretty much everybody else that does what we do. So going back now to our events page, I'm not going to sign in yet, but you can see that the experience you're able to create by using the widgets is that over and over, you can have different workshops that people click on, and right in that individual event page, they can register for the whole thing. So now let's say that I decide, for this beginner's workshop, I decided that requiring payment for it was just a little bit too much. Maybe my registrations are not as high as I want them to be. I'm going to try and express a little bit of trying to drum up a little bit more interest on social media and whatnot. So I'm just going to say, no, payment is not required. I'm going to leave everything else the same with this. So all I did is I was back inside Tula Software and I was editing the event. But when I go back to my website, instead of this widget being a register and pay, now you'll just notice it says register, right? And I can register really easily for this event. And interestingly, now that this event doesn't require payment and I don't need a whole payment form, maybe it would end up looking okay, being a little bit higher in this page. All right, so here's the thing that's cool, is now that we have this pattern set, in the future, we just sort of copy and paste this page that we have, and we're set to go. So what I'm going to show here is, let's say like we go demonstration student. So now what's awesome is this person is able to register for all these 3 events all at the same time. And just by giving us their name and email, they're registered. And if I go back into Tula over here, I have, if I go to the group of the various beginners workshops, I'll see that demonstration student has registered. What you see going on here is this person has not been in our studio before. So I can either say, oh, this person as a manual override actually does exist and I know that because they're someone else, and they go to the studio, and this must just be a different email, or I can add them as a new person. And once they've been added as a new person, they're in the system and they're ready to be checked in. So I'm not going to check them in since the class time has not come yet, but that is how you do that. All right, so now that our special events are set up and we have the sort of the main scaffolding of our website going and we have our pages outlined for the most part, I'm going to just go back to Squarespace and check out the site and look at just the general structure we have going right now. So I've added just like a little bit more detail to a couple pages. I have a few things going on with the pricing page and breaking it up into columns and whatnot. And so before I go further, we're just going to take a look at where things stand. So we have our homepage, class descriptions, special events, pricing, a team page, and our schedule. So now at this point, and then I went ahead also and I put the student access into the secondary navigation. So going back to our public facing site real quick, our pricing page is gonna be a little bit different because I've put a header in here now, and I have a 2-column layout going, and I'm just sort of getting a feel for how the site is structured. But at this point, I'm gonna kind of move away from Squarespace because we have the sort of the fundamental elements that we need for a nice website. So you have your homepage, we have a page for the descriptions, you have a page for your special events, and at this point it's basically putting in the content, putting in your nice images of your studio and your team, and organizing the pages to give the information you want to give to people. But what's really super awesome about this is that this basic website right here can enable you to accept credit card payments. It can enable you to get people on monthly memberships. It allows you to share your class schedule. And importantly, when you have your schedule up, it allows you to dictate whether or not someone can simply sign up for an event or whether or not they have to sign up and pay for an event. So for as basic as this site looks right now, from a structural standpoint and a foundational standpoint, it actually puts you on like an extraordinarily solid footing to either improve your business or kick off your new business. So with that, I'm just going to spend a minute or two wrapping things up, going inside Tula, and just showing you how a few of these little changes show up in the website. So when we first started here, I mentioned that I could have added other passes, and when you add passes, you can dictate whether or not people are going to have unlimited credits. So you might make a membership pass, or it's going to come with a set number of credits, and then you get different expiration types when you create these passes. But one of the things that we did is it can be important, like the way that passes show up in your dropdown, you want to organize those sometimes. And so right now, if we want to move it so that the recurring monthly membership is the option right under the single class, all we do is drag and drop that. And then from here moving forward over on our website, these passes will show up in the order that we put them in Tula. So you have a lot of control over little things like that. The other thing that's cool that you can do is if you go over here into the online store settings, you can along with your sort of fundamental main abilities to dictate whether or not something is available in the store and whether or not it's available in the gift certificate, is you can actually go to our Customize tab, and you can create specific payment forms, and you can create as many of these as you want just for specific passes. So let's say I want to have just a payment form for memberships. So I might put a prompt of buy your membership here, and I'm only going to choose the recurring monthly unlimited pass here. So I can then take this code. I'm not going to go back to the website right now because I think you get the idea, but I could create a membership page in addition to this one if I wanted to. Or I could take our special event passes and have just a list of our special events if I wanted to. But basically, by creating this custom form, I just refreshed my page. Sorry about that. So what we're doing here is updating this URL so that you can create a payment form for any reason that you want, basically. And it'll put the prompt in here. But what's neat about this is, let's say you have a corporate membership rate you want to give a restaurant that you have a relationship with. You can create a pass, choose not to put it in your online store, but you still have a link that you can give the person who you have an agreement with that they could then pass around to everybody at work so that they just fill this form out and then they're instantly in your Tula software system. So we very much look at the payment form, the registration widgets for the event series, the calendar widgets. We look at all of these things as sort of the root system of your studio, bringing your students to you, accepting payments for you, and really a lot of the things that any business needs so that it can remain nourished and sustained by its customer base. So the final thing that I'll go over is just to go back to the website widgets page real quick. If you want to get super customization with the calendars, you can sort the calendars just by or filter the calendar events just by the instructors. You can create multiple calendars for groups of your event series. And then if you want, you can create links for custom passes and colors here. So we have this sort of Cubs theme going on right now, and let's say I wanted to make a Cubs special pass. So through a combination of choosing colors and a custom pass, I now have this custom payment form, which will be blue and only have the pass that I chose in it. So there's just a lot of little different controls that you get. But between these widgets and our payment forms and the calendars, you can create a beautiful website on Squarespace or a number of other platforms. We just happen to be big fans of Squarespace. And you are up and running with a great looking website and the ability to take payments and registrations in just about an hour. So yeah, hopefully you found this useful. Thanks a bunch, and let us know if you have any questions in the comments.